Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the Sikh Youth Show, and today we'll be talking about a really taboo issue which is in the community, which is in our community, Punjabi Sikh community, which is the sexual grooming. And we have a special guest on the show. The guest is going to stay anonymous for her own safety and for our safeguarding reasons. We want to keep her identity protected because of how horrific this case and her journey was. We want her, and goes directly and straight into telling you, the viewers, what the reality of these predators is out there in the UK who target young, vulnerable Sikh girls. Yeah, how difficult it is for our organisation to understand and express that to the Sangat is very difficult to show you what goes on and how it actually affects these young victims. So I'm going to introduce Benji as Miss Kaur. We're going to keep her anonymous, like I said, and she's going to just let you guys know. I'm going to ask her a few simple questions today. So first of all, Benji, welcome to the show. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm going to keep this very short and, take our time with this. So, we want you to let the viewers know how hard it's been, how bad it's been, so people out there who are going through this right now, who have been through this maybe before, can come forward, let us know, get the right support, because you're getting the support. You've been through a hell of a lot. We don't want our other sisters or daughters to go through this. So, Benji, just to let the viewers know, where did it begin?
There were two gangs involved, and the first gang started when I was 10 and a half to 11, and then gradually things got worse and worse, and then when I was 14 onwards, that was when the second gang was involved, and it happened up until I was 18. So it's quite raw. And then Sikh Youth UK, I can't be thankful enough, removed me from that situation, and I'm getting all the support I need now.
Okay. Obviously, it started when you began. It began and started when you were 10 years old. You've told us things about situations which have happened. I want to go into that a little. Obviously, you're getting the support now. You're in a safer environment. You're getting the right support from our team, from our support workers, which is really important, from the people who look after you at your house, from, your, relationship with your parents changing, things improving slowly. Right now, let's go back to, like you said, when the second gang was involved when you were 14. Let's go back to the first gang, when you were 10 years old. What sort of things, horrific things, did they make you do, and, how did it make you feel?
So the second gang, I was a child, so I was in school. I didn't know any different. It involved lots of 6, 7 men older than me in a room, even on school premises. Sometimes they'd lock me in the classroom, older lads, and they'd pressurise me and to do sexual things, and a lot of the time I was raped consecutively, one after the other, and it was actually one of the gang members' sisters that introduced me to them. I wasn't aware at the time. Like I said, I was only like 10 or 11, and then it was a case of emotional blackmail. So you think that the person cares for you, you think that people care for you, but he doesn't. He'll use I can't explain it other than once you're in, it's very difficult to get out. For me, one thing that they did was turn me against my parents. And it's just when you hear about things like someone, like a girl got raped, but when you're in a room and you have been raped by 6, 7, 8 people at a time, it's hard. Hard's not even a word now. Obviously this is years ago, but I'm in a position where I'm trying to get onto the right path with regards to Sikhi, and I'm so grateful that I have a foster family, Baji and Benji, that are helping me, and I'm also grateful that I've been to other families and they're helping me to connect with myself and also build a relationship with my mum and dad.
It's really important, like you've just said, that the gang tried to turn you against your family.
Hanji.
What sort of ways did they try to do that?
Breaking the relationship between me and my mum and dad was, reflecting on it, the key weapon that they had. They do that by filling my head with nonsense, saying that I didn't need them, showering me in gifts, and then saying that my parents don't do anything for me. It's not until you're trapped in a room with these men that you realise they don't have your back, your mum and dad do.
I know this is difficult for you.
Hanji.
But I just want the viewers to know, you know, the reality. You know, what was the most amount of guys that were in a room that abused you?
18.
18 guys.
Hanji.
And what was that, gang 1 or gang 2?
That was gang 2. That happened at a restaurant, and it was they'd often be the main guy would like sellotape my hands, sellotape my mouth often, and then they'd make me, if I had ate that day, they'd make me sick it up before, so I wasn't allowed to eat, I wasn't allowed to drink, and then the workers there, the waiters, it was almost everyone knew about it, but because I felt like I couldn't talk to my mum and dad because I'd been pushed away from them. It was a case of, you do this, otherwise we'll rape your mum, we'll rape your sister, we will burn your house down. That's the kind of things they would say and do. And it wasn't just one of them. I thought that he had my back, but he didn't. He introduced me to all these men, and I was forced and I was pressurised to do things, and it was just the worst time of my life.
Obviously, threatening your family, going through this abuse. If you resisted, would they, you know, forcefully hurt you?
Beat me.
What kind of stuff would they do?
Like the restaurant, the things they would use, they would heat metal up, and they'd put it on my skin, on my body. One of them, there was a kettle, and it was a metal kettle, and he boiled water and he chucked it at me, and touch wood, none of the water spilt on my body, but there was a massive bruise on my body. And afterwards, when we went on holiday, my mum had seen the scar, and because of how broken the relationship was, I couldn't even turn to my mum about it, because these people make you feel so isolated from the rest of the world. They just play mind games after mind games after mind games. At the beginning, I love you, I want to be there for you, your parents aren't anything, we'll always support you, but that's the trap that put me into that place, the darkest place that I've ever been in.
This was gang 2 doing this in a restaurant, obviously. What about, let's go back to when you were at school and what they did in classrooms. You know, how didn't the teachers be aware of this? What happened at school? Let's go back to school.
The teachers, so when everything happened with Gang 1, I did approach a teacher, and I approached school, and it was a case of, we didn't see it, so it didn't happen. The police, I didn't even get a statement. It was almost like she's lying, that like no one cared. I felt like the incidents used to take place in the classroom, so it was even more hard to speak up about it. And even though that I did, no one, the teachers, the police, like no one believed me. And then it was, I think, several weeks after I had spoken up about it, and I even told them, you know, who they were. Some of the men were like ex-students. Some of them were, I think, 2 of them were in the last year of sixth form.
So sorry to interrupt. So while you were at school,
Hanji.
in a classroom where they would abuse you, was it be one person?
No.
How many?
6 or 7.
And some of them weren't members of the school?
No.
And
Some
didn't
of them
attend the
weren't.
school?
They didn't know that there were so many ways to get into the school, and these boys during lunchtime or after school, I would have to stay. They would blackmail me out of school hours, in school hours, lunchtimes especially, in classrooms. Teachers, there's a part of school that the teachers don't occupy or anything. But even after it took place and the teachers found out and the school found out, nothing was done. One of the men, shall I say, was caught on school property with Class A drugs, and still they didn't believe me, like no one paid attention.
You've been through a lot. Do you feel like the teachers or the police let you down?
They all let me down. Social workers let me down. They turned me against my parents. Police let me down. Everybody let me down apart from Sikh Youth UK, the family that I'm staying with, people that have been there for me, and Mum and Dad and Waiguru.
This abuse that you've been going through, you know it's not your fault. Now you know it's not your fault.
No, Hanji.
You know, it was only a few weeks ago that we were called to speak to you, and you know, within a week, straight away we removed you from your area and put you somewhere in a safe environment. The point I'm trying to get to is, when I first come to speak to you,
Hanji.
you told me that it was only 3 days prior to that the last time you were abused was in a restaurant.
Hanji.
Okay, so for the last 8 years, you've been going through this and kept that to yourself. You've told teachers about certain things when you were younger,
Hanji.
and nobody's caught on to this. The local authorities haven't done anything. Would you ever want to go and press charges against these guys?
In all honesty, I would do that, but only when I have confidence. I'm still trying to get to that place where I can have the strength to do that, and that's why I turn to Bart a lot now. I'll wake up in the morning with Baji and we'll do Japji Sahib, because I feel like when I do have enough strength from Waiguru and I'm in a place where I can say I'm over that, then ideally I would like to.
What other reasons is it that you're holding back? Is it because of the threats they've given you?
Hanji, the threats, the emotional blackmail, it sometimes feels like they had power and control over 8 years of my life. I was an A-grade student. I had a lot of potential going for me, but everything went downhill, and when I did speak up about it, no one was listening.
And now you've got people around you listening.
Hanji.
Obviously it hasn't been easy, and you know, how important is it for you to be expressing exactly what has been going on? You know, how important is that for you right now to express those feelings?
So before, I just felt isolated from everyone, and now it's important not only for me, but for other girls out there, for other parents, that there's someone there to wipe their tears, because I have to be the strength not only for me but for my family. I need to get through this, and I'm lucky I'm sat here on the sofa with you talking about it, but there's other girls that don't have the opportunity. There's other girls that are in a restaurant with men in a room being raped right now. That's why I'm speaking up.
The gangs that you're involved in, have you seen other girls there?
I have, yeah.
Do you know of any other girls, and how many that this gang been targeting or abusing?
Obviously I don't know them personally, but it would be a case of majority of the gangs are employed from a different city, so they'd come in a van, and a lot of the time there would be a number of girls after hours at the restaurant. Then the abuse would take place, sometimes even before then. With me it was a case of before they had opened the restaurant I was blackmailed and I was forced to go in there and meet at other places. Otherwise the threats would come in, otherwise the abuse would start. And like I said, it's from someone that you'd expect to have your back. I mean, that's what they do. They make you feel like you've got some sort of connection with that person, when really that person's going to just bring poison and leak poison into your life.
Did you feel like you were, let's say, in a relationship? Did they make you feel that you were the only one, and how did they lure you in? How did they get you in?
What they did was lure me in with one of. So it was a case of him sweet talking, him buying me gifts, him saying he'll always be there, making me feel like I was safe. He did pretend that he was Sikh as well.
What sort of you spoke about at school? What sort of how, other than the classroom or the restaurant, have they moved you or taken you about other places? Just let the people. What kind of places have they taken you? How, what have them places been like?
They used to take me all around. Two of the places they wouldn't tell me, but two of the places that I know that they shall I say sold me to, because that's effectively what it was. I was being raped at different places by different men, and they were getting paid for it. He was getting paid for it. Two of the places were Luton and Leicester. So
they took you from your own area and trafficked you around the UK?
Effectively, but I didn't. The thing is, like I said, you're so blinded, you don't even realise. It was only until I started opening up to Baji about this, 2-3 days ago, that he sat me down and he was, look, like, they're trafficking you, like, how can you not see that? But it's almost like you're under a spell. You can't see it until you're out of the situation. And lots of girls don't get out of the situation. It was a day before you came to see me, Baji, that a ticket was booked for me to go to a different country. And in my head it was, it's that everything's great, everything's fine. But no, now I know I was going to be taken out of the country to be sold.
How does that make you feel?
Broken. Because, okay, it's because it's a detrimental effect on everyone. My mum, my dad, my little brother and sister, their kids, not just me. These people are predators preying on girls, but it's affecting their families, everyone that loves and cares for them. They don't love you, they don't care for you. It's the opposite.
What do you think would have happened if you left the country?
I would have never come back. But I only know that now because volunteers from Sikh Youth UK and obviously Baji and Benji and everyone that's been there for me, and my mum and dad have educated me about it. I've actually started listening to them and realised what happened was so wrong. Before then, I couldn't see it. I was in this fantasy world. I was so infatuated with this person when he was selling me to 14, 15, 16 men at a time around the country. And now I look at it and I think, no, I was being used.
How old do you think the oldest guy was that was involved? And how young were some of them?
The oldest one was a granddad. 50s, 60s. It wasn't just one, there was lots. The youngest one, 16, 17.
And they all knew each other?
Majority of them. It's their pride, it's their ego. It's what they do best.
And did your family ever understand, or were they aware of any of this that was going on to you?
Mum and Dad had an inkling, but like I say, it's a generation thing. I don't think they never understood, and I'm not the type of person to open up, especially not after everything had happened. So even if they knew snippets of things, I couldn't confide in them properly. And I don't think that without Sikh Youth UK or people around to support me, they would have been able to understand. Even now, after everything's happened, I still struggle and they still struggle to talk about the situation because of how deep it is.
Obviously, it was difficult for you to do this show today, and you've been really, really brave. So I want to thank you for that and commend you. You know how brave and courageous you are for speaking out, letting others know out there what goes on, what actually happened, you know, and the reality of what's going on in the UK. You know, I just want to touch on the system and social services. You know, how have they, you know, you said earlier that they try to put a wedge between you and your family. You know, in what way did they do that? And, you know, how supportive are they, and what was going on with social services?
The social services tried to rip my family apart. The guy would beat me black and blue. I would go into school with these bruises, and social services in the school would blame my parents, not him, not the person that was raping me 5 times a week, would blame my parents. It got to the point where the police would come round to my house, and the social worker, in fact, when I did meet up with her, it was a case of, we need to get you away from home. We need to find you somewhere away from your mum and dad. Your mum and dad they're not the best people for you. I think a worker from a different charity linked to social workers also pressurised me into moving away from home. Most of the time, she would also criticise the community and say that I wasn't around the right people, like criticise my culture. And me being me, I was quite naive at the time. I was very close to agreeing with her, to accepting things. But had I not stayed with my family, still things are very bad and fragile as they are. But if mum and dad weren't with me, then I wouldn't even be in this country. I would have gone. I would have been a sex slave.
Obviously, you've heard, you know, stories up and down the country. Did you ever think something like this would have happened to you?
You don't think, because it's always someone's sister, you hear about someone's daughter, but we're all the same. I've met so many brothers, and they see me as a younger sister because it happens to so many of us. You never think about it. You never think it's going to be me. It's going to be, I'm going to be this. I'm going to be raped. You just don't think. But you don't think until it's too late.
I want to thank you for coming on today's show. Thank you for speaking out and being that courageous. Really proud of you. Really well done. You have come so far and really brave speaking out. You know, whatever our team's doing, we're going to continue to do, and we'll try our best to carry on supporting you as long as we can. It's really commendable what you've done today to speak and let the viewers and the Sangat know what goes on and the realities. I want to tell the Sangat out there, you know, how difficult it is to sit with young girls like this day in, day out. I've done it. Some of our other Savirdars are doing it day to day. We've got support workers behind the scene doing things, families who are out there taking on young girls like this and supporting them. It's really important that more volunteers come forward, more support is given and attention to this kind of taboo issues which are in our community, you know, the prevent, the intervening and the rehabilitation. All three are vitally as important as each other. Benji spoke out today, and for her to speak out, this is another way of letting you know what goes on, but to prevent it happening, or for other victims to come forward and speak. Any last thoughts you want to give to the viewers out there?
I'm speaking. I'm speaking up because I don't want any of my sisters to go through this. I just want to raise awareness, and I really hope that you take on board what I'm saying, because this person, although you might think he'll care for you and he'll love you, he won't. You'll end up like me, abused for years.
Well, thank you for your time today. Really intense show. Keep looking out for other shows that we'll be doing. I want to thank you, the Sanghas, for carrying on supporting our team. Thank Sikh Channel for always giving a platform to spread the awareness and, you know, let people have a platform to express their feelings, express what's happened to them, and let you guys know what's actually going on and what our community and our projects are doing behind the scenes. Thank you for listening. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.